I remember the exact moment I realized my childhood was gone. I walked out of my parents' bedroom, bleary-eyed and lugging a half-empty suitcase, to find a crisp, white sale notice taped across my windshield. It fluttered in the early morning breeze like a taunt. Sold 2010 Toyota Corolla, VIN 3MZBH, 4W73BM asterisk, 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 to Jonathan's MBA fund. My hands went numb as the paper's edge scraped across my knuckles. I stared at that slick logo of the dealership, Sterling Hyundai, and felt the ground slip beneath me. My parents had sold my car. My first car. The one I'd scraped and saved for since I was 16. I should have been packing myself, not my suitcase. I was leaving home for college that morning, but at 18 I thought I had the world ahead of me. Not that it would slip away before I could blink. My car had been my freedom for 4 years, the vinyl seats worn to a cushion, the radio knobs glued together after Katy Perry's Teenage Dream cut out mid-chorus, the bumper stickers declaring loyalty to my high school debate team. It had survived a rollover scare, 3 hailstorms, my ex's reckless parallel parking, and now it belonged to someone else. I dropped the suitcase, but the floodgates didn't open. Shock interred my tears in a frost of resentment. I'd built my plans around that car, commuting to a summer internship 20 miles away, weekend trips to the mountains with my friends, late-night coffee runs with my first real girlfriend. Without it, I was stranded. My mother's voice drifted from the front porch, clipped and urgent. "Sarah? Sarah? Breakfast?" My father's low hum answered back. A grunt, really, like a door creaking on rusty hinges. I marched outside, the sale notice still in my fist. They sat at the picnic table, the steam of their coffee contours around their heads. "Good morning," I said, voice tight. They looked up, smiles too bright. My mom blinked, eyes wet, rimmed. My dad sat straighter, spit-shined shoes on the deck boards. "How are you feeling, honey?" my mother asked, voice trembling, though she tried to keep it steady. I swallowed. "Great," I said. "Fantastic," my dad cleared his throat. "We know it's not what you expected, Sarah, but Joshua's MBA tuition is due this semester. We did what we had to do." He lifted his coffee mug in a toasting gesture, porcelain clinking. "Family, family," my mom echoed, her eyes on the sale notice, as if willing it to burn itself to ash. I unfolded the paper and waved it. "So you sold my car to pay for my brother's MBA?" My voice broke on the acrid truth. "The same brother who barely talks to me. Your car cost almost as much as 2 semesters of his MBA tuition," my dad said, tone even. "We couldn't afford both. And you didn't think, maybe I could have paid for part of his tuition." I spat, fury tasting like copper. "I work 14 hours a week at the cafe, Dad. I have student loans." "I'm sorry, Sarah," my mother said, voice cracking. "We thought, you're starting at State U in the fall? You won't need the car once you move on campus." She blinked, tears glinting. "I didn't want you to feel punished." "Punished?" I nearly laughed. "I feel like I got run over." My mom recoiled, but my father's gaze stayed firm. "It was the only way. We love you both, but we only have so much." He set his mug down. "Your brother's investments in his future might benefit the whole family someday." "Someday," I repeated, venom spiking. I stomped upstairs and flopped onto my bed, hands pressed over my eyes. My pillow smelled of my shampoo. Home, betrayal. The next full afternoon, my parents drove the snout-nosed Corolla out of sight. I watched from the window as the glossy sales slip's edges flapped loose. Then the red taillights winked, and they were gone. That night, I ate cereal for dinner, and lay awake, listening to my parents murmur through their closed bedroom door. The house was too silent. I hated the thought of my brother, 27 and breezy as ever, rolling around in someone else's Corolla, savoring the sound of his tuition deposit hitting the registrar's desk. I wanted to scream so loud it blew the stars out of the sky. Instead, I downloaded the Metrobus app and mapped out the routes to campus, memorizing every stop. I swallowed my pride and posted on Nextdoor, "Looking to carpool to State U. Would pay weekly fee. Any drivers?" I waited, heart thumping. No bites. By August, I had 2 roommates lined up, Michaela and Phillips Hall in Jordan, whose parents lived downtown, offered me weekend cabin rides. Metrobus running late or not running at all, on weekends. I packed my Corolla's calendar into a folder like a tombstone, and tried to pretend I was fine. My parents dropped me at orientation in their minivan, leaving me in the swirl of navy t-shirts and college banners. No goodbyes, no tears, just a backward glance at my bright green Corolla's old garage spot, empty. Freshman year blurred between research labs and long library nights. I saved every penny, skim-shipped textbooks, never bought a coffee. I still needed campus rides. Jordan's parents were saints, and in exchange I mowed their yard for 2 summers. I made Dean's List, found a minor in environmental science, studied my schedule with electives in film studies. I made friends, some of whom drove their own cars. I never complained. I felt a quiet combustion in my gut, a simmering resentment that fueled my grades, my research, my scholarship. I kept a notebook crammed with ideas, an eco-startup to convert old cars to electric, a screenplay about a girl who lost her car and found herself. I dreamed of my own successes, far from the cabin, far from my brother's MBA-funded ride. By senior spring, I had my first big break, an awesome job lined up at Novum Global, a Fortune 500 consulting firm with a reputation for poaching top campus talent. I was going to be an associate in their sustainability practice, working on cutting-edge decarbonization projects for major clients. I signed the offer letter, printed it, and stapled my entire college transcript beside it on my dorm room wall, my personal shrine to achievement. I'd beaten the odds, rallied the forces of public transportation, scholarships, and part-time jobs. My parents wrote me a check for new business attire, but I didn't tell them about it. I mailed the clothes to my apartment. Now, 2 years later, I sat in my one-bedroom loft in the city, my morning routine honed to a reflex latte from the corner cafe, sliced toast in the lobby, elevator to the 45th floor. My office at Novum Global had floor-to-ceiling windows, glass panels, infinite corridor lights under a grid of white ceiling tiles, my company badge clipped to my jacket's lapel, Avery Chen, Senior Associate. I tapped open the group's Slack channel, a long chain of GIFs and emoji, Team Green strategy. My brother's name was not there. After 2 summers, I'd lost track of what he was doing at business school. He'd never finished. I reminded myself I didn't care about his MBA. I had my own career. I flicked open my calendar. At 2 p.m. in Straue, I had a BCG partnership pitch. At 4 p.m., I was coaching 2 analysts. At 6 p.m., I was meeting clients at that new rooftop lounge. Then a ping, direct message, Julia Park, our office's HR partner. She rarely DM'd me. I clicked. Julia Avery, you free to chat in 5? It's about a potential candidate for next week's case interview panel. My pulse spiked. Case interview panel. Then I remembered I'd volunteered to participate in next week's associate-level interviews. It would be my first time. I tapped sure, Julia. Be right there. I gathered my laptop and stepped into the corridor. As I walked to the HR suite, I rehearsed polite lines. Hello, candidate. Thank you for coming. Tell me about your background. To my horror, I realized the candidate could be anyone, and that maybe my brother, who was finishing his MBA at Northwestern, might apply to Novum Global. Maybe he wanted to work with me now, fresh from school, on my turf. My stomach twisted at that thought. I knocked and Julia opened the door. Her expression was pinched. Thanks for coming, Avery. Anything urgent? I asked. Stepping inside, she sat behind her desk, flipping through a file folder. This came up late this morning. She slid the folder across. My eyes stabbed the first line. Candidate Matthew Chen, Education, Kellogg School of Management, MBA, Class of 2025, Undergraduate, State University, Economics recommended by senior leadership as strong culture fit. My heart thudded. My brother. I'd almost forgotten he'd been at Kellogg for the past 2 years, quietly ramping up his own network. My parents had spent the money, he'd delivered results in case competitions, and now he might just walk into my company. Matthew, I whispered. My brother, Julia nodded, lips pressed. He applied through referrals in Chicago. We never mentioned it to you because his last class year had some incomplete items. He was on academic probation once, but he's on track to graduate, and he has strong endorsements. She extended the folder. He's scheduled to interview at 3:30 today. I sank onto the leather couch across from her desk. He's interviewing today? She shifted. Yes, if you're available, we're still fishing for panelists. Thought you'd be the best choice. I swallowed. The BCG pitch was at 2 the same time. I'm already booked at 2. She looked at me. We can adjust. We value your input, but we thought you should know before things get too serious. My head buzzed. BCH pitch. Or my brother's interview. If I canceled the BCG pitch, I'd let down my partners, maybe damage our deal. If I didn't show up to Matthew's interview, they'd fill the panel with someone else, maybe deny him or give him a lukewarm reception. And if I did the interview, I'd be sitting opposite my brother, feigning objective curiosity while secretly furious my parents had sacrificed my car, and now he was stepping on my career path. "Julia," I said, voice shaking. Why am I the one they picked to interview him? Don't they see he's your head of recruiting in Chicago? She winced. He's an external candidate. They wanted someone who knows him firsthand. My breath came in shallow bursts. I thought of the bright green Corolla, the sale notice fluttering away on the driveway, the sting of betrayal. I thought of my parents' brave faces at orientation, proud of Joshua, silent about me. I thought of my hard-won success here, the 8-figure projects I'd led, the months of clients and deliverables. And now my brother could stroll in and be a peer, my parents' investment rewarding them with his employment here. I closed my eyes. "I need a moment." Julia nodded. "Of course." I staggered out of her office and into the corridor, the neon panels scolding my head. I pressed my back against the wall and slid down to sit, knees to chest. My phone buzzed again. A message from my mother. "Mom, are you excited?" Josh got the call. They asked him for his availability. "He's so happy." I slammed the phone into my palm. Excited, happy. My car gone, his MBA funded, now a shot at my own company. I felt rage and grief twist inside me. I ran my hands through my hair. I laid back on the floor and stared at the ceiling tiles. I had two choices: swallow my resentment and interview him softly, fairly, like a brother supporting another, or sacrifice my own integrity by recusing myself. But would that cut it? The firm values family too. Nepotism policies allow relatives as long as lines of authority don't cross. But it was ethically gray. I could ask to move him to another office. But then I'd be admitting bias. My phone dinged again, a Slack ping from the Green Strategy channel. Reminder: Blue Wave deliverable to Catherine by Cobb. At Avery, please ensure Q3 risk mitigation slides are finalized. I massaged my temples. The launch of our healthcare CRM plan demanded my focus. My brother's interview was secondary. Or was it? I exhaled. I pushed myself off the wall and collected my thoughts. I stood and straightened my suit. I texted Julia. "I can do the interview at 3:30. Let's shift the BCG pitch to tomorrow morning." Then I walked back toward my desk to finalize those slides. Because whatever happened next, I needed to keep moving forward. As I punched in my badge and slid into my ergonomic chair, I reminded myself, life doesn't pause for fairness. You adapt. You choose the battleground. I would be on that panel. I would face my brother across the table, and I would neither break nor bend. Because no one, not even family, should stand between me and my career. My screen lit up with the slide deck. In the margin, I inserted a single bullet: ethical considerations addressing internal candidates with exacting fairness. I took a breath. The office's fluorescent hum filled my ears. Outside, the city churned in its rush. And up on the 45th floor, I settled in to decide exactly who I was: sister's champion, brother's jury, or both. I opened the deck and typed in my notes. Prepare to ask personal career development questions. Avoid bias. Then in capitals, reflect family history sensitively. I paused and stared at that line: family history, betrayal, resentment, but also love, sacrifices, and those who gave their all. In 15 minutes, we would meet. I closed my eyes, steadied my breathing, and clicked next slide. And then the door swung open. Matthew entered. He paused, suit crisp, backpack slung over one shoulder. His eyes found mine, blue, hopeful, unaware of my storm. I stood, swallowed, and extended my hand. "Matt," I said, voice calm, professional. "Great to meet you." He smiled and took my hand. "Avery," he replied. "Thanks for doing this." I nodded, masking the conflict in my chest. "Let's talk." We sat across the polished conference table, the two siblings destined to confront the past, our futures tethered by a $5.8 million project plan, and by every mile of road that my parents paid for with my sale. And so the interview began. We both sat stiffly across the long mahogany table, the two of us each clutching a thin pad of paper, him listing his MBA or achievements, me scribbling potential follow-up questions. It felt surreal. My brother Matthew, who'd once borrowed my notes in high school, was now a candidate interviewing with me at my Fortune 500 employer. He smiled first, that easy grin of his that once lit up every family gathering. "Thanks for making time on such short notice," he said, voice pitched low so only I could hear above the gentle hum of our three fellow panelists, Julia from HR, David from Risk Management, and Priya from Strategy. I managed a polite nod and gestured toward the seat next to me. "Glad you could make it. Why don't we start with your case presentation? We asked you to prepare an analysis of our new client's operational pain points and propose a 3-month pilot plan." He took a breath, slid forward a printed deck, 7 slides in total, and looked up. "Absolutely." He clicked his remote. The first slide lit up, Blue Wave Healthcare CRM Pilot Program. My stomach nodded. He'd analyzed the very project I'd led, and still was leading. He dove in Phase 1, Implementation Audit, 1 week. "We'll deploy shadow agents in 3 pilot sites, nursing, billing, and patient intake, to map current user workflows. Phase 2, Customizable Feature Rollout, 5 weeks, focusing on interoperability with existing surgical scheduling software. Phase 3, Clinician Training and Feedback Loop, 4 weeks with ongoing KPI dashboards." As he spoke, I recognized the contours of my own blueprint, only leaner, slicker. He'd stripped out my risk mitigation redundancy and substituted crisp visuals. My heart raced. Did he know too much? Did he have access to my proprietary notes? Or was this coincidence? He clicked to slide 4 key risks and contingencies. There, in neat bullet points, lay my own risk categories: data loss, user resistance, integration lags, but he'd reframed them in the language of ROI rather than emergency stopgaps. The group leaned in. David took notes. Julia whispered with Priya. I forced myself to sit up straight, mask impassivity, and follow along. When he finished, a hush fell. Julia cleared her throat. "Thank you, Matthew. That was insightful. Can you speak to how you'd measure clinician adoption and ensure we're not just hitting engagement metrics, but actual efficiency gains?" He nodded, clicking to the final slide for that exact question. "Absolutely. We'll implement role-based dashboards. Nurses see patient throughput times. Clerks see billing error rates. We'll set adoption thresholds once 80% of active users log in weekly and complete 2 core tasks per session. We'll greenlight full rollout." I could see Catherine's eyebrows rising. He'd captured our client's obsession with quantifiable success. Priya spoke up next. "Impressive. How do you propose handling parallel deployments across multiple database versions?" He answered confidently, and by the end of the Kunda, all 4 panelists were nodding. Then Julia turned to me. "Avery, any questions for Matthew?" The moment I'd feared, I tapped my pen, glanced at his face, earnest, hopeful. Across the table, David whispered something to Priya. They lowered glasses of water in unison, the sign that they were drawing conclusions. I took a breath. "Matthew," I said, voice calm, "you've clearly done your homework on our proposal. I'm curious what, in your view, differentiates the strategy you just outlined from the one your sister and my team has already developed." His look sharpened. He folded his hands. "Thank you for asking that. I believe the core difference lies in execution lean prototyping. Rather than waiting for a 6-week wrap-up of Phase 2 before adjustments, I'd build in continuous user feedback in week 2 and 4, adjusting features in near real time. It reduces scope creep and aligns the CRM's utility with actual clinician needs." I nodded, an honest, valid point. "And how would you mitigate the potential pushback from the core IT group? They've historically resisted mid-sprint changes." Matthew leaned forward. "We'd engage a change champion model, select 3 power users in each department, co-designer role, empowered to sign off on rapid iterations. They get recognition, the rest of the staff sees real-time wins, and it creates social proof." I felt a thrill. This was a fresh take on my own fallback plan. "Excellent. Thank you." Julia checked her watch. "That's all we need from you today, Matthew. We'll be in touch next week. Thank you for presenting." He stood, shook each panelist's hand. When he reached me, his palm was warm. "Thanks, sis," he said quietly. "Really appreciate it." I didn't flinch. "Good luck," I said. He left the room with that nervous, hopeful gait I recognized from his first high school debate tournament. Everything riding on one moment. After the panel, I stayed behind with Julia. "He's very strong," I admitted. "Honestly, I'm impressed. She smiled sympathetically. He had the pedigree, Kellogg case competitions, strong client presentations, but this panel will also check references and his fit with our culture team. So don't assume he's in. I exhaled. Thank you. Underneath, though, I felt the ground tilt. Either he'd be a peer or I'd be his peer. My hard-won advantage felt suddenly vulnerable. I slipped back to my desk. My inbox pinged a calendar invite from Julia. Follow-up debrief. Candidate Matthew Chen. I accepted, schooled my face into neutrality. Boardroom revelation. On Wednesday morning, I walked into the glass-walled conference room for that follow-up. At the head sat Julia and David. Priya leaned against the table. Catherine's absence felt like reprieve. I took the empty chair beside Julia. Julia cleared her throat. Thank you for joining. We have initial feedback on Matthew. She tapped her laptop. The screen displayed a bullet list. Academic excellence. MBA GPA. 3.9. Dean's List consulting experience. Internship at Bain. 3 case comp top. 3 finishes cultural fit. Strong references from Northwestern alumni concerns. Close family ties to existing employee. Potential conflicts of interest. David nodded. His skills are evident, but we need to decide if we can manage the familial connection. He placed a set of printed guidelines on the table. Nepotism policy. I skimmed relatives are allowed as long as no direct lines of authority exist. For siblings, it stipulates assignment to the same practice group permitted, but with different supervisors. Priya added, we can assign him to the digital transformation team, under a different lead, so there's no direct reporting line to Avery. I studied the memo and felt a tangle of relief and disappointment. They valued my brother's skills enough to hire him, but they wouldn't place him on my team. It meant we wouldn't compete directly, but also I'd lose the chance to mentor him, or challenge him. Julia looked at me. Avery, your thoughts? I met her gaze. I support his hiring. He's talented and I'd welcome him as a peer. But we should respect the policy and place him under someone else. That ensures fairness for both sides. She nodded. Understood. We'll proceed accordingly. She closed her laptop. Thank you all. I exhaled, shoulders loose. The future seemed mapped. He'd join Novum Global, but in another practice area. Our paths would cross, but hierarchies kept us apart. We'd be colleagues, not siblings. That was a bittersweet victory. Unexpected family tension. That evening, I sat at the small kitchen nook in my loft, penning my weekly grocery list. My phone screen glowed with messages. Texts from my parents, from my best friend Maya, from the HR Slack channel. At 6:02 p.m, Mr., a ping from Mom. Did you hear? Josh got the offer. Team DM just announced it. I exhaled and texted back. Yes, saw the notice. He starts April 1. We'll be in Chicago practice. I resisted adding an exclamation mark. My parents replied instantly. So proud of you both. Love, Mom and Dad. My chest tightened. Then my phone buzzed with a LinkedIn notification. Congratulate Joshua on his new role at Novum Global. I tapped it and wrote congratulations. Well deserved. I felt my fingers tremble as I hit post. In the quiet of my kitchen, the stall of emotions welled pride in him. Grief at my parents' sacrifices, gratitude for my career, and a small stubborn anger that they'd spent my car sale money not on my additional education. My conference travels, licensure exams, professional development, but on his MBA, which he hadn't finished. I'd built my career alone. He'd received theirs. I dumped my grocery list onto the counter and headed upstairs. I found Harper engrossed in her tablet on the couch. When she looked up, I collapsed beside her. How was your day? She asked, brushing my hair from my forehead. Intense, I muttered. I told her about the interview panel, the debrief, the final decision. She listened, nodding soft sympathy. I told her about my parents' texts. She frowned. They did what they thought was best, she said. For him. She placed a hand on my knee. For you too, in a way. I swallowed.
Does it feel like that?
She sighed.
I get why you're upset, but you have so much going for you now.
They resource balance the family's investments. They sometimes make choices we don't like. She leaned in and kissed my temple. You're amazing. They know it. I breathed out. Her words, warm and real, slowly eased the knot in my chest, but the ache lingered. The first day of work, April arrived with cherry blossoms drifting past my office window. At 8:45 a.m., I strode into the Chicago practice area. Glassdoor labeled Digital Transformation, to meet my new team lead, Marcus Elliott, an affable director, with a penchant for Hawaiian shirts under his blazers. He shook my hand and introduced me to the 6 associates and analysts clustered at standing desks. They were a mix of fresh graduates and mid-career jumpers. No Joshua in sight. I exhaled. They'd followed the nepotism policy. Relief mingled with disappointment. Marcus smiled. Welcome aboard, Avery. Sorry your shift starts today. We could have delayed your onboarding. But we wanted you here first. We'll need your insights on that Blue Wave case wrap-up from last month. I nodded. Happy to help. An analyst, Jenna, approached. I was on that project too with Avery. He's the guru on VBP models. Should be fun to have his input. I nearly laughed. Their enthusiasm made me forget my grudges. I sank into my chair and fired up my laptop. The email thread on Blue Wave spun across the screen. I immersed myself in the spreadsheets once more. The gross margins, the adoption charts, that elusive 25% ROI. At 10 a.m, Jasmine, the HR business partner, tapped on Marcus's door. She leaned in. Marcus, you have a panel today around noon. Marcus nodded. Great. Remind me it's Matthew. I'll step out. I blinked.
You mean Joshua?
Marcus frowned. Joshua? No, the candidate from Northwestern. He's starting today, tentatively. Jasmine coughed nervously, pending final paperwork. For a moment I froze. They meant my brother. My brother Matthew was going to be in this office. He'd just interviewed with a different panel, and now they were welcoming him into digital transformation under my manager. My career would cross with his path every day. I swallowed. I'll be happy to help him with orientation. A brother in the office. At 11:45, I stepped into the supply closet to grab a fresh notebook. When I emerged, I saw him. Joshua standing at the reception desk, fiddling with his badge. He looked over his shoulder, spotted me, and his face brightened. He abandoned the sign and kiosk and jogged toward me, his backpack bouncing. Avery. He threw an arm around me in a brotherly hug. His breath smelled faintly of coffee and new uniforms. Man, it's been a minute. I patted his shoulder awkwardly. Welcome to Nova, Matt. My voice was steadier than I expected. His tie was straight, his blazer pristine, his smile unwavering. Something about that first greeting washed away the worst of my resentment. He let go and looked around. So this is digital transformation. Nice digs, sweating anyone today. I managed a half smile. You're interviewing at noon. No sweat. I locked eyes with him. I handled your panel. Thought you should know that. He blinked. Oh, thanks. That must have been weird. I shrugged. It was fine. I closed the supply closet door behind me. Here, let me walk you over. We threaded through the standing desks, past monitors displaying dashboards. Analysts paused to say hi. Hey, Matt, said one guy. Welcome. Others waved. I introduced a handful by name. Each nod, each handshake, made him more real in this world. My world. At the interview room, Marcus greeted us. Joshua, meet your new team. And Avery. I know you two are brothers. Marcus forced a laugh. Small world. Joshua and I sat at opposite ends of the long table, like rivals jockeying for business. School nerd fights. I handed him his orientation packet. He scanned it. Thanks. Then he looked at me. Want to grab lunch after? I paused. He just moved in. Orientation, HR, emails awaited him. But my stomach lurched. Yeah, I said. Let's do it. He grinned, the old easy grin. Great. Lunch at the halal cart. By 12:30 we walked to the halal cart a block away, a greasy spoon institution with peppers smoking in oil. We ordered chicken and lamb over rice. He leaned forward, pressing his palms together. I owe you, sis. Really? I scooped rice with a plastic fork. Don't? He swallowed a bite. No, I do. I know how hard I made things. Car sale, MBA funding, interviews. It weighed you down. He shook his head. I didn't ask for that ride. But you never complained when I used to hop in your Corolla as a freshman. You looked out for me. I paused mid-fork. I did. He nodded. I'll repay you. I laughed. Bittersweet. Stay off corporate panels. He laughed back, then grew serious. I have no intention of stepping on your toes. I'm here to build my own career. I studied his face. Okay. He grinned, victorious. Okay. We clinked soda cups. Here's to Chen siblings, I said. Reunited and competitive. He chuckled. And to no more car sales. Back at the office, returning to the 45th floor, we dove into orientation, benefits, Slack channels, mandatory training. I found myself explaining the firm's innovation sandbox, where associates can pitch pro bono projects. He listened, excited, jotting down notes. I saw a spark, his passion mirrored mine at 22 by 3 putt. Orientation over. I escorted him back to digital transformation. Marcus shot me a curious look. Lunch? He asked, eyebrows raised. I nodded, catching up. I introduced Joshua to the rest of the team. They smiled genuinely. I felt my chest loosen. Before I returned to my desk, Joshua rested a hand on my arm. Hey, thanks for doing the panel. And he hesitated, then shrugged. I appreciate you stepping up without making it weird. I realized then that he feared awkwardness as much as I did. I smiled. No problem. Your family. He beamed. Thanks. I watched him walk away, then returned to my seat. I opened my laptop, and a Slack ping popped. Team Convo. Welcome Joshua Chen to digital transformation. Beneath it, dozens of emojis. I scrolled up to see messages. Great to have you. Welcome. Congrats. My heart swelled here. They saw him as their new colleague, not my brother. I exhaled, standing and stretching. My phone buzzed a text from Mom. We're so thrilled. Let us know how lunch went. Beneath it, one from my father. Good job on guiding him. Proud of you both. I flipped my phone face down. I realized there would be more tests ahead. Balancing sibling bonds, professional boundaries, family expectations. But in that moment, I felt confident. I'd stood my ground for my own credit, insisted on fairness, and now I was forging a new path with my brother, by my side. Not above me, not behind me, but next to me, each of us driving our own engines. I slid back into my seat. The computer glowed with new messages. The BCG team needed me for tomorrow's pitch reschedule. I opened the email, fingers primed on the keyboard. Life was messy, family even more so. But here at Novum Global, on the 45th floor with the city below, I had direction, I had integrity, and I had my brother, ready to face whatever came next. I smiled. All right, world, I whispered. Let's go.